Service Lines community. How y'all doing today? Got brother Doug alongside me. Rob's already spicy in the comments. Good morning, brother. Good morning.
Yeah.
Is it really my co-host? Really?
But I figured that if you can distract me with all popping these comments on while we're chatting, I can at least comment in there and protect myself, defend myself. Because I noticed Rob Jones isn't on today.
Next week.
Jeez.
Next week.
Classic.
He did say he has PTO next week, so we are going to get Rob Jones on in the morning.
But
he was already.
We just heard him recently say that he has a hard time separating work from family, and that he should, So like, this is the son.
Do you think his wife wants to deal with him this early in the morning?
That is true. I forgot about that. Yeah. Our curse is her blessing. Yeah, that makes sense.
Carrie's like, get. Oh man, you have a good weekend, Mr. Doug.
We did had our company holiday party. We had about 35 people there, and it was a good time. It was a great time because I didn't have to do as much organization and management of the party. Jay had it, so it was really great. I felt like I could just attend and enjoy it.
That's awesome. And then we have Mr. Kurt Benfield.
Yeah. Wow. That's one up in it right there.
Podcast over. We can go home now.
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah, it it was a good weekend. We hung out with family. So It's nice to have that time on the weekend. I was telling Doug in the pre-roll, we went to one of those like disc replay places or whatever. You buy used discs. And there's truth in your comedy. No, I know it's truth. I know it's truth, buddy. The kiddo got a new video game, Lego Star Wars. So just quite happy to sit and cuddle with her dad and play some Lego Star Wars on the weekend. So
there you go.
Yeah.
That's good stuff.
Yeah. So
this is the time of year where my pants stop fitting between Thanksgiving and then, not wanting to be super fat and nasty. I feel like I'm, I got to get my leotard out and those, what do you call those big long socks that go up to your knees almost? Remember come on, you used to wear them in the 80s.
No, I wore the parachute pants though. I did have the parachute pants. Yeah.
Did you have the pointy gray shoes to go with the?
I don't probably, or some crappy Kmart knockoff. Listen, I grew up. I was in kindergarten in the 90s, so
yeah,
that was right in the sweet spot of terrible clothes that were picked out for you.
Parachute pants. Oh yeah, remember that? That's good stuff, Zach. Gosh.
Listen, I'm also of the generation that we wore the Jinko jeans. And Doug's like, what the hell is that?
What a Jinko. Those are the really wide-legged jeans? Like where it looked like you were wearing a dress or something?
The wider the legs, the better. Like those legs were like the side. They fit around. One leg would fit around your waist. I mean, it was just ridiculous.
Yeah, no, I was already working at that point, so it was work pants. Couldn't go around hovering off the ground. So that was like the grunge era, right?
Yeah, buddy. So Amazon, that was something my wife and I sat down. Green Day.
Yeah.
Those guys they did a live show and it was on Amazon and we're watching. I put a post out over the weekend. Hey, fellow punks, we are old now. I'm looking at these guys and I'm going, they were just 20-somethings like screaming and, screw the man.
Were mullets around when you were young?
No, the rat tails were though. The rat tails. Gosh. Yeah.
Rob had one of those at least, right?
That would not have shocked me. I had a rat tail. That was kind of forced upon me. So that's Doug, think bell bottoms. That's awesome. It's funny.
Thanks for your translation, Rob. Appreciate it, buddy.
I was gonna say it's funny because you guys are the same age. He's picking on you, but he's picking on himself. So
Oh yeah.
Anyway,
and as long as you keep throwing his posts up while we chat, I guess
he's just gonna keep
going. Letting him win. You're letting him win.
Just feeding into it.
No
Yeah.
mohawk.
So this, yeah, I didn't have one of those. I don't have enough hair for that. But I had the bowl cut going on. So, all right, now that we've taken this long stroll down memory lane,
Now I want to know what Kurt looked like in 1994. What was he dressing like?
listen,
I
I
think
have a feeling he didn't look that much different than he looks now. Like Kurt is just a cool dude.
all right, it's possible. It's possible.
I don't know. He might have had the long hair. I don't know. We'll see.
Find out.
He'll let us know. So today we are talking challenges in business. That's the theme for the week. And Doug and I are just going to share from our experience. If you saw the description, I kind of shared some of the things that we hear on a regular basis. I just need to work on the business and not in the business. I'm having a hard time finding employees. I don't have business goals. I'm just trying to make it through the day and whatever else we end up talking about. Now that we took 5 minutes to stroll down memory lane. But we'll cover as many of those from our own experience and how we kind of either overcame them or things we wish we would have done better. I feel like there's power in our experience. And if you experience something similar, drop it in the comments. Let's talk about this. So you want to pray us up, Doug?
Sure will. Good morning, Lord. We lift this day to you, and we thank you for everything that you give us. All that comes from you is good, and all that is good was designed and created for us. Lord, for some of us, this time of year can be sad as we think of those who are no longer with us. And so I lift up those who have loved ones that they're missing. Lord, we don't ask that you remove that pain or those feelings, but help us seek your joy. Help us blend in as we experience life and lose loved ones and gain new loved ones like grandchildren and children and spouses. Lord, help us process it all and have that harmony of your joy with our lives here on earth. In Jesus' name, amen.
I want to add a little quick prayer for those in Western Tennessee. They got nailed with a tornado, including some of our family. Sounds like everyone that I personally know is safe. JT and his family and all his team, they are safe. So kind of rough weekend.
Yeah. That's that storm that started in Cuba, right? It's going all the way up. Yeah. Oh, you thought I was digging on Saul there?
Well, I mean, you
No,
never
it was
know.
a storm that started in Cuba, and then it went all the way up, went right through Connecticut, a little tiny state right through the middle.
That's wild.
10 inches of rain or something like that. Wind.
That's wild.
All my Christmas decorations were 2 houses down, so we've already went and collected them all.
That's crazy.
But not like JT's situation, so.
Yeah, we're kind of in Tornado Alley. I mean, we've had a couple here just in my area of Illinois. So anyway, Plainfield tornado back in the 90s, same thing. It killed a lot of people. That's why we have a lot of the things we have in place for tornadoes now.
Yeah.
So on the business, in the business, this is kind of weird one for you. But maybe you've experienced, I mean, inherently you're in the business. You don't own Action Appliance, but you are like the man when Jay is not around. So I don't know if you've experienced that or.
Well, firstly, I just want to say we've been saying in our community, working on and working in, and in the beginning when we started saying that, eyebrows would be like, "Oh, that's interesting." But lately, in different settings, I've heard some people go, "And don't tell me about this working on and work." It's like it's gone full circle where maybe it's been difficult and challenging for people to find that balance, and to the point of expressing frustration, to say, "Forget that." But it's amazing how our feelings can inspire us to take it to the next level, and then our feelings can take that same thought and go, screw that. I'm going back to the way I was doing it, and I'm just going to bang out those calls. I'm going to put out those fires, and I'm going to keep it going. And that's working in the business, right? And working on it is creating a team and developing systems around it, so you don't have to do those little things.
Indeed. And I think a lot of that animosity, sorry, Kurt, it is everything that I hoped it would be, by the way.
He sent you a pic?
He did. It is everything I had hoped it would be.
Really?
He messaged you that one too. I might have to share this one.
Okay.
Morning. So I think a lot of the animosity on the business versus in the business comes from not having a very good definition or not having a very good template of it. So maybe the best way to address it is share my experience with it and the things that I wish I would have done differently, right? So, as an owner of an appliance company, right, you end up or can end up very easily as you're starting out being the technician and the manager and the HR department. And oh, wait, yes, that is the reality as you are starting off. And so it's hard to find time to create process or create structure that will help you grow and expand, and not be the one doing everything, right? And so I was told early on, well, you gotta be working on the business and not in the business. Okay. Let me just like go and sit and lock myself in my office and just start writing stuff, right? Well, that's a crap definition. I've encouraged some of our community as they're trying to work on their business and they're trying to grow their business and they are a technician. One of the lessons that or the things that I wish I would have done differently is just pick 1 or 2 days. And that's where I structure it, whether it's just for me to take some time and think and set my goals, like intentionally set my goals. And it doesn't. Here's the other thing I think that frustrates people is they think it has to be 8 hours or 12 hours or whatever you're doing on the road. They think that has to be exactly what you do when you're working on the business. And it's just not true. Sometimes it just means taking an hour or two to find some goals and think about what that looks like and do some research and then come back to it a little bit later on that day and, see if it still sticks or, see if you could have improved that a little bit better. And so for me, that's something that I wish I would have done a little bit better. It was just like, okay, I got to work on today is my day to work on the business. And like, it was overwhelming. And so I think that's where some of that animosity can come from, right?
Yeah, frustration, and then maybe an abandonment of the idea, or not right now. We're always looking for that phrase that can give us the peace of mind to abandon something we know that is good, right? I've done that for this dentist and this tooth for at least 10 years. So one day I'll have no choice but to go to the dentist when it hurts. So I'll tell you something. As I took over as general manager in 2013, I decided the only way I'm going to understand everything that's going on is have everybody write down what they do, right? So the team writes down their daily, weekly, quarterly, monthly tasks. And as I looked at it, it took me a year or two, but I decided what are the things that they have to do and what are the things that I want them to do that will help us scale, help us get better as a business. And it's pretty cool because I started looking at the list and seeing things that should be automated. And I'm freeing up the time for that person, whether it's my parts manager or my office manager, to start to help me as I was going to say the owner, but yeah, how about for the sake of it, let's call it the owner.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it's not really that different.
So yeah, so it's like we as a team, let's work on the business and doing things that are proactive that will make effective change. But that was not the plan from the start. It just was sort of a a revelation once I saw it. Like, man, this is like putting out fires. This is keeping the doors open. This is trying to make the customers happy. So I can see myself doing this over and over and over, like Groundhog Day, and not getting anywhere. So it went from that to, what do we need to do to make the business better? And Jay, one last thing, Jay has always kind of, his mantra is something good done today is better than something perfect tomorrow. I mean, like you were talking about earlier, you might not even know what to do to work on your business. So how about this? Don't set a whole day aside. To me, that would be intimidating and like intense. Like, oh my gosh, I could be making money and making customers happy, but I'm going to sit here. And if you're not inspired, if you don't have any idea of what you need to do to begin the process of working on your business, you're in trouble, right? So I say make it just a couple hours, half a day.
Right.
And then start making a list. Just write some stuff down, and it starts to sort itself out. Things about working on your business.
And I want to encourage you out there that are maybe in this situation right now. Spend that first half of the day doing this, and then spend the second half of the day recharging yourself. Like, go out with the family, go have an early dinner or something, or go see a movie with the kids, right? Like, that is just as much working on your business as anything else, right? Because if you are not whole and you are not recharged, you're worthless to the business, right? And so taking that time to go and do that.
Because you need to stay healthy, right, Zach? You need to continue to be inspired. So since you and I love mindset, let's just pass this piece of information on to you. As you finally can teach yourself or can quiet yourself to think about the things that you want to work on, and you start to recognize what you need to do, you might look at that list and say, man, I should have been doing this years ago. And that time of regret and shame is negative. So how about get excited about identifying something you should have done years ago? Like, look forward to the aha moments, no matter how embarrassing they are, like Action Appliance. I mean, our team has been more than with Office and Text, more than 30 people that are relying on us year after year. And I've never, ever set a budget or set goals for the upcoming year, ever. That's weird, man. But I got no problem admitting things, knowing that Rob and Saul will trash me for it. But the reality is that's a great aha moment. And how much better could that make our business if we're being intentional about what we want to do in 2024? So that is actually really cool for me to find this glaring hole in our model, which is pretty good, really good, actually. So
G Money down here, scheduling half days for admin stuff and running 3 or 4 calls. And then, he'll work on the business for the second half. There you go. There's a different approach, and it's working for him. I just know for me that I needed to get like the admin stuff done early, and I did have people out on the road. There's kind of a difference between one man, couple guys, big business, right? Like there's different levels to it. So one man, he's doing calls and then half a day for admin. Right. I had a team going. It wasn't a big team at the point that I was actually learning to work on the business. So I would take that first half of the day and try and process through on the business. And then I wish I would have taken that second half to recharge myself. But instead I was trying to put the same amount of work in a whole day, and it just defeats you before you really get started.
And what's cool about that, Zach, is everybody's different.
For sure.
I don't, that's not the way I need to recharge. It's, but you have to identify what works for you, for sure. Because you got to stay in a positive mental state.
Right.
That you're pushing yourself to do things to eliminate some of these challenges. Right.
Right. And I remember you telling me that Jay, like him and his wife at the time, they would get away for the weekend and they come back and right, all right, here's what we're gonna do, and that was kind of their recharge. So
that was their approach.
Yeah, it can take different forms depending on who you are.
And
So
I used to make fun of them, but I didn't understand. I was just a technician,
right.
And then maybe I was like, they should be here working, but they were working on their business as we, grew strong, huge in the sales back in the 90s, so
well, and
great ideas.
I think that segues nicely into the next thing that I want to talk about, which is like setting the goals for the business. And, I'm just trying to make it through the day. So the segue into that, as they were working on the business, they weren't clearly communicating what they were doing. Now, I, as an employee, don't need to know everything you as an owner are doing. I really don't, right?
That's right.
But if I understand that you're setting aside time and I'm seeing the results of it, which is, okay, so this year, here's what our goals are for this year. Here's what our targets are for this quarter here. Then that communicates to me that, okay, he might have been gone, but like, there's actual like structured, like, this is what we're doing. Right. And so maybe he was doing that stuff and he knew it in his head, but it wasn't being communicated to the team.
That's right.
I say this as someone who is guilty of doing this exact thing. I would set goals when I did get to that point, but I wouldn't clearly communicate it to the team. How about the guys that didn't set goals? You were sharing, and again, this is in that segue. We didn't set goals. I didn't have goals. I'm just like trying to make it through, and how are we going to keep technicians around? So how was that shift from I'm just trying to survive this day to goal setting? What did that look like in your experience? What do you wish you learned sooner?
Baby steps, really. Realizing that I need to be proactive instead of reactive. So my first goal was I've shared this before, getting rejected from probably the best technician in Connecticut. Sealed system, just unbelievable. And rejecting a 5-figure sign-on bonus. And just staying where he's at for all kinds of reasons that don't matter here. But that made me realize I'm going to just sit here like a flag in the wind and wait for someone to say yes, or I need to be proactive. So I set a goal of training, I can't remember now, 2 or 4 techs from scratch. We hadn't done that in probably 20 years. And so I just started taking some time away from putting out fires and having other people handle that stuff, and started working on that, creating a training program. So I think that was a baby step because it worked. It was successful. And most importantly, it made me want to do it again. Made me want to do it again. So now I'm in a spot where we're working with our bookkeepers, and they're like, hey, let's set some goals before this year starts. Let's do it as a collaboration. And, I put some things down, and they're like, yeah, but you really want to focus on some goals that'll help your expense side. That was like my brain just opened up and went, oh, that makes a lot of sense. So I'm a student still. I'm learning as I go, and I'm excited about continuing to try to be better at it.
I love that accountability piece as you're beginning to set some of these goals. And I think this goes back to Rob's comment earlier as well. Do something. It's better than nothing, right? So set some goal, even a small goal is better than just trying to maintain, right? So maybe you are running around hair on fire and you're just like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Just pick a small goal. Like, hey, I'm going to be home by whatever, 6 o'clock. Like, that's my goal. Be home by 6 o'clock.
That's right.
Just incremental steps, and put it down on paper, and then begin to think out like, okay, so how am I going to achieve that? I'm going to be more efficient. I'm going to make sure my truck is clean. It doesn't look like a bomb went off in it. Right. Like all these little things. And then so that's a small thing. That's an easier, manageable goal to start working on. And then you can build up to these bigger strategic goals within the company. It's like building muscle. Those of you guys that go to the gym, like, it is literally, you're just starting with that lightweight and you're doing some slow, easy reps and you're getting used to it. And then, then you can kick up the weight or kick up the amount of reps that you're doing. So
it's funny how perspective works. When you when you set a goal, a few goals,
Mm-hmm.
and you hit them, and you want to do it again, all of a sudden your perspective of, well, I have to handle the parts returns. That's money that I can't afford to lose. I can't delegate it. I have to do that. All of a sudden, when you start to add to your salad bowl the goal planning, and the goal planning turns into working on your business. You weren't sure how you were going to do it. You do it in baby steps, and all of a sudden you find that you have to take something off your plate, something you thought was really important. And then you come to find out a little bit later it wasn't as important as you thought. So a clear perspective when you have a balance of working in and working on. You're not going to post that, are you? You're not going to show that on. How about, okay, look at you, Zach. Nice job. No, you're going to show it.
It was very hard. It was very hard to. It was very hard not show that.
Rob will probably stop watching.
I'm gonna show this one instead. I'm gonna show this one instead.
Oh, you do the Kurt one?
It is everything I expected.
Look at Kurt. Oh my gosh, man.
I love it.
This was middle school for Kurt because he stayed back a bunch of years. This was middle school, 8th grade. But look at that. That's amazing.
And now he is the Kurt Benfield that we know and love. It is literally everything that I expected from Kurt Benfield in his early years. I love it. It's so cool. Thanks.
It's hard to believe a guy like that turns into a grandpa, right?
Right.
I know. It's so
like,
cool.
It's just one of the coolest guys I think I've had the pleasure of meeting. Like,
Agreed.
I just appreciate his friendship so much. So,
So then what? Okay. All right. Let's just get that out.
That's funny. 40 pounds ago. Yeah. Well, we all have those ups and downs, brother. We all have those ups and downs. So what are some of the other things that you kind of wish you would have learned, like some of these as we're talking about challenges in business? What are some of the things that you've come up against that either you've tackled pretty well and you want to share, or something that you wish you would have tackled sooner?
No. How about a challenge that I don't know what to do with, which is making your employees happy, meeting them where their expectations are, and then hopefully what their expectations are profitable and helpful to the company thriving and surviving. Right.
For sure.
And so it's that healthy balance, because I'll tell you what, if all our techs who average around 40 hours a week in the summertime would each take 2 extra calls a day, it would just blow the numbers out of the sky.
Yep.
But if they're not equipped and ready, like Rob and I were 15 years ago, or you, Zach, when you're running your business, some of you guys are running your own business, and you're putting in 50 to 60 hours a week when the calls are there, to get employees to be inspired to do that is really hard. So anybody who wants to Facebook message me and chat about that, or in the comments here, I'd love to know what they're doing to try to make people happy, but they got to contribute enough, right?
Would you agree that there is like a generational difference here? I mean, I really feel like, I feel like there's that Gen X generation, which is you're like right in that pocket.
I'm Gen X. What would you suggest? I'm a boomer or something? I'll sign off right now. I'm not a boomer.
You and Rob are on the border of that. I'm just messing. Just having some fun.
Monday.
And then I'm in the older millennial part of the generation.
You're early millennial, right?
I'm borderline Gen X, right? And then we go into the generations that follow, and there's just like this whole shift in mentality. We were taught one way, we were told one thing. Your generation, a lot of more of that came true than it did for my generation. My generation sitting here going, what the hell was all that for? And these younger generations are pushing back. They're like, no, I'm not doing it. And so how do we find that kind of happy medium of Like, we still have to work. We still have to be productive. We can't, like, it's not sit at home and play Xbox.
So from a mindset perspective, right? That's you and I.
Mm-hmm.
It's always willing to put ourselves in a different generation or mindset shoes and not be closed-minded. And I can tell you that this generation that's leading the way now through COVID and all these really complicated and difficult things like Black Lives Matter, Blue Lives Matter, all those challenges, it's being heard and accepting what you believe to be true and to be right. And sometimes there's things that aren't right, and sometimes there's things that can go both ways. So I think that we've gone from this great healthy generation of being open-minded to other people's beliefs, but I do start to see that it's starting to close down. It's getting a little toxic, and it's almost like I don't even want to talk about it. This is what I believe is true, right. And if you don't accept that, you are my enemy. So they've I feel like we're coming down to balance this thing off. But that new generation, I love them. It's about being holistic and thinking about your whole life, your future, and moment by moment. Where I come from a generation, you worry about tomorrow. Right now, do what you need to do to make this day get finished. Right. And it's not about being fair. You just do it. You look for opportunity, and so different generation. But let's stay open-minded to how it works and try to blend in. And I have massive heartburn, and it's because I've been trying to make my employees happy as we start to talk about the end of the year and trying to get on the same page. It's really difficult.
Yeah. And, I honestly want to blame our generation and your generation and the generation that came before. The reason I think that they're so shut down is that there was no one listening to them. Right. And that filtered through each generation. Right. Because I'm looking at my parents' generation, and they're in the Gen X to Boomer generation. They're on that upper end of that.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at them going, yeah, and I understand them now. I understand why they don't want to have a conversation, why they think. And it is because, like, so much of what we have done as our generations just to make it through was not healthy, right?
No.
And we didn't argue well, right? I think to the boomers and the silent generation, they're like, no, just shut up. This is the way it is. Like, deal with it. I think of my granddad, and I appreciate my grandparents, but there was no highway option. It was shut up and do it. Like,
right.
No discussion. And I feel like we lost the ability to actually have intelligent debates and arguments, right? Disagreeing with you as a person, like as an idea, whatever idea you're having, disagreeing with that versus like, I don't like you, I don't want to talk to you, and just like, those are two different things. And I think those lines have kind of become blurred. And I think that's where it becomes hard to inspire these younger generations, because the lines are so blurred. There isn't this, no. I'm not disagreeing with you as a person. I am disagreeing with the concept that you are sharing. Let's talk about that concept.
Yeah.
And they just don't know how to separate the two. They feel like the concept is who they are, which isn't true. And we haven't done a good job of communicating.
It's all positive, Zach. It's all positive. Yep. Like questioning patriotism, questioning family loyalty or employer loyalty. Let's think about it. Let's talk about it. Let's work through it. And I would say
the concepts, not the people. Like,
no, the concepts. Yeah. So it's a shifting ground of a new approach to communicating. Like, I would say, as a Gen X kind of guy and the millennial type, the millennial type typically would just kind of cross their arms and go, no, that's not fair. That's not fair. Well, let me explain to you both sides. So, as maybe in the example of running a company, we need to do this, and we need you to help us get there. That's too much. That's unreasonable. Well, help me understand what I'm just telling you. It's unreasonable. It's unfair. and there's nothing to talk about unfair. Where my teenage generation, they're willing to explore it to a degree, but I'm starting to see them maybe it's getting toxic. Maybe it's becoming overwhelming to them to accept everything. And now it's like, just accept it, don't discuss it. And we don't want to lose exploration. We don't want to lose the blending of generations and the new way of communicating and working well as a team. So that's where my heartburn comes from, is trying to get them out of their own circle and into a bigger circle, like treating them like an owner of action. What would you do? How would you do it?
Yeah.
Okay, let's try that. I like Joe's. This is an example of challenges. So for anybody who's doing it and it's working, that's great. For those of you who say, I don't think that would work, that's good too. The challenge is to stay open-minded, because I've seen that people are doing it, are just very emphatic about it and suggesting if you don't do it, you're missing out. And I get that. It's okay. But this particular topic is challenging and complex, more complex than some people want to make it. We're a COD business. So if somebody is like, yeah, I'd like to have you come out tomorrow. Sure. Like, okay, great. We're going to collect the service fee up front. Oh, really? All right. Let me call you back. I'm not sure if tomorrow will work for me.
I think it's area dependent too, because like Brother Dave in New York they didn't even question it. They're like, yeah, here's my credit card. Let's go. I needed you yesterday.
I don't question it. I don't question it. But as a guy running a business, I'm afraid to lose a call.
No, I'm saying I think it depends on the area. He has customers that are just like, yeah, here's the credit card. I needed you yesterday. Let's go.
Yeah, but if David hired 3 more techs and now he wants to make sure he has enough calls for all 6 of us. You see how every situation is different?
I still think it's area dependent. I think he's in New York and people are used to that. There's certain areas of Chicago that I could pull that off with, right? There's certain areas in Chicago where I could go, listen, we have to take a credit card just to secure it, and it goes towards whatever service that we do for you. And you get that back if you cancel within 24 hours. Like if you give me 24 hours of notice, no problem. We're going to refund that credit card fee to you. Easy peasy. And you're clear and you're up front. Some areas of Chicago, I could do that. Most of my area, we tested that, and it was met with such resistance. It wasn't even funny. So I do think even in the area, right, there can be the pros and the cons. I just think certain areas are more accepting of it and more used to, this is how we do business, and that's just what it is.
Right.
The clientele that he's working with, there is that level of expectation there, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he's downtown on Manhattan Island, like he's servicing high rises, right? Like, so there is an expectation of this is how we conduct business, and there is no other option.
Sure.
Where small town in Connecticut might be like, I can find 12 other guys to service me.
I think if we did it, it would probably work out.
Yeah.
But if I were to know of the 8 people, and I was able to know that those 8 people were great customers that we could have done great work in, I would have that sort of buyer's remorse on that decision. So, but I think it's a great example, Joe, of how it's not cut and dry. There can be challenges that are different for other people.
Well, I think the biggest takeaway in challenges is, and I'm gonna go back to it because it really sums it up. Do something. It's better than nothing. Right? So if you're facing a challenge, try something. Don't just keep doing the same thing. Like if it ain't working, don't just keep doing the same thing.
Right.
Try something, anything. Talk to someone and get some ideas and do something. Maybe it doesn't have to be an extreme difference. Just do something a little bit different and see what happens. I think that's the biggest lesson that I learned in facing challenges in business is do even just a little something to move that needle, and then see what happens from there. So
it's not the worst thing to duck them when you're not, like you said before, recharged and ready, but you can't let a long period of time pass. You really got to take those challenges on, and like that advice from Rob is great. It's very rare that Rob has great advice. So mark the calendars, everyone. 12/11/23. Oh, wait a minute. He said what I already said. It's actually not Rob. That's
you just didn't have a comment for me to put up, or I had to put the comment up. Buddy.
There you go. So hey, Rob, Rob's coming on next week, and so the pressure's on, buddy. We need a pearl of wisdom from you, Rob. All right, now let's end this thing before he comments, so people can't see what he has to say.
All right, guys, have a good week. Get out there, serve your customers well, and we'll catch you next time on the Morning Grind. Bye, guys.
Great one, guys.